Hello and welcome everyone to V8s Online's live coverage of our newest series, Thursday Night IMSA. Jay Kennedy, and alongside me tonight I've got Bo Albert for round one from Suzuka. Good evening, Bo. Welcome to V8s Online, mate.
Hey mate, how you going? Looking forward to it. It's going to be a very interesting race tonight. These cars have only ever seen the daylight of Le Mans so far, which is a high-speed track which only features straights, so pretty much. So Suzuka's going to be an interesting challenge for these cars, so I'm looking forward to see how it goes.
Yeah, it should be fantastic. 45-minute race tonight. We'll feature 45-minute and 75-minute races throughout this series this season. And the track here at Suzuka should be an awesome track for this event. We've got 3 classes, so make sure we keep on track of all 3 classes. We've got about 15 cars in the what's now seen to be the main class, which is the GTE class with the new Ferrari and Ford. We've got 8 in the DP class, and I think about 10 in the GT3 class. So a good mix of cars tonight, which will be really, really good to watch.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Of course, there's a massive unknown right now hanging over the GTEs, seeing how they're going to perform, how they race, because obviously this track is much different to Le Mans, so people are going to have to see how the push in like behind another car will be. They're going to have to see how the slipstream is a little bit better. It's a whole different ball game, so GTEs has a massive question mark over it, but GT3 will be pretty interesting too, because of course there's going to be a smaller field there, but everyone is going to be much more eager to get the victory in this one. for that reason.
Starting to see some times coming through for some drivers, but I think the big thing for these guys will be that the guys that raced at Le Mans in the GTE class, they were the slower class, so they had to watch out for cars behind. They're now the middle class, so they're going to have to work out traffic coming past them and to pass traffic as well. So an extra added challenge for those cars, and we will see a lot of passing with this 45-minute race.
Yeah, well, it's definitely not the easiest track in the world to pass. So if you are in that faster class, especially in qualifying, you can very easily get held up by the slower class of car. So not only is this qualifying session going to be about who can go quickest, it's also going to be who can be smart enough to actually find clear air on track, because that is going to be absolutely vital to your lap time.
3 classes will be easily identifiable on screen. The yellow box around the driver's name or number will be the DP class. The blue will be for GTE and the red for GT3. So you'll be able to keep an eye on drivers throughout the race. We'll keep the top 4 in each class up on screen throughout most of the race tonight. So we've got about 2 minutes left in qualifying. Got Richard Hampstead on screen, who is car 1. His first lap did not count. His teammate Josh Rogers fastest in the GTE class, and Hampstead's off the track, so that is lap done for him. He will start last in this field, which will be a big challenge for him.
Yeah, it's one of those things you definitely don't want to do. It is a 45-minute race, and we do have a pit stop in this race here tonight, so there is plenty of ways you can make your way through the field, but for an ideal situation, that's a massive nightmare for him and not what he would have planned on doing.
Probably the worst part of it is that he's going to start behind the GT3 cars as well. So he will have a massive challenge on his hands. Lewis Gallon currently on pole overall with Daniel Benefield in P2. Those two guys over a second quicker than the rest of the field in the DPs. We've had 6 of the 8 that we've got in that field have completed laps. And Josh Rogers, Gianni Vecco and Miko Mila, top 3 all separated by just over a quarter of a second. Then we've got Jake Maloney in the GT3 class leading the way from Matthew Trotman. And that field is fairly close as well. So it should be a really, really good race. We should see some nice, really tough, tight battles throughout this race tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting in the GT3 class. Of course, we've only got a couple of cars in that field hit tonight, but every single one of them is within 1.4 seconds of pole that have set a lap time. So that field, you know, an inch or a millimeter off of the curb or an apex, and you're going to fall down in this field. So it's going to be massive, massive battle pack all the way through the race.
The last time we broadcast a series like this in the official servers, we ended up having the strength of field for the world. So we actually ended up producing the World Championships from our broadcast series. Fingers crossed we can return to those days that we used to have way back when on V8s Online, about 4 years ago now. So we'll see if we can get back to those stages, but thank you for tuning in. We'll be here all season at this time slot, which will be really, really good.
Yeah, it will be. It's very accessible for all the drivers to get to, but like you were touching on with the strength of field, I can just tell you now that for the GTE class alone, we're looking at a strength of field of around high 5,200. So the strength of field is massive. So these drivers are definitely going to be on the hunt for good championship points towards the main overall championship.
Yeah, so fingers crossed we might see a champion come from this side of the world. Tend to only see that in the V8 Supercar, so it'd be good to have a few other series where we can see some quick guys actually win some championships on our side of the world, as we are about to get the checkered flag for these drivers and they'll get ready to do their pace lap. So I'll run through the grid, which is on screen now. So Lewis Gallon first, Daniel Benefield second, Jake Haswell third, and Samuel Doki in fourth. So that's the top 4 for the DP class. You got Josh Rogers and Gianni Vico. I'm going to absolutely butcher names, so my apologies to these guys. They're the top 2 in the GTE class. So we move down through. There's, as we said, about 12, I think, 12 or 14 GTE cars. And then we've got Jake Maloney, Matthew Trotman in front of the field for the GT3 class. 31 cars in this race tonight.
So all the cars just making their way onto the grid now. Definitely the nerves will be definitely starting to peak up for some of these guys. Luis Paulo Gallen will of course lead the field away. Got the very, very quick and talented Daniel Benefield alongside. And it'll be interesting to see how those two fight their way into turn one, because these DPs of course have massive amounts of downforce and equal amounts of power. So turn one could get pretty spicy between these two guys.
Yeah, it should be an awesome battle with those guys, so I'm really looking forward to it. 45-minute race, as we said. So it should be about 22, maybe 23 laps in length. We will have a pit stop in every class with a fuel restriction. Morning weather for these guys, and it's very overcast, so the track will be very, very quick. And fairly low track temp as well, so tyres will be affected by that a little.
It's going to be interesting to see how these guys actually go on tyres, because you know, the only experience these guys have with GTE cars so far is on Le Mans, which is of course not a massive tyre wear dependent circuit, but now we're at Suzuka, and that's a whole different ball game. So tyres could get chewed up, but that's not something they're going to find out until we're halfway through the race.
So Daniel Benefield and Lewis Gallon lead the field away. Field separating into their separate groups, which is always good, leaving a little bit of a gap. Really looking forward to this. I've been waiting for this ever since the confirmation was made that we were doing this series. Been a lot of love for the new cars and the older cars as well. As Lewis Gallon goes really, really early. Caught the rest of the field absolutely napping.
Daniel Benefield just fallen away just a little bit, but look at Clint Smith-Shane just behind him. Oh no, sorry, that's Blake Haswell having a little bit of a look, but just thinks better of it as the GTE cars head into turn one.
Josh Rogers leading the GTE class away.
Got a pretty good margin at the moment, back to Gianni Vecchio and Mikko Melkila behind, so he's managed to get a pretty good jump, and looks like most of them have fallen into single file, which is brilliant, so we shouldn't see any cars facing the wrong way. Just looking back to your leaders in GT3 right now, and it looks like Jake Maloney's had a bit of a nightmare, has he?
Yeah, he's dropped back to third.
Yeah, that's not good at all for him, so something's happened to the pole sitter there. And he's going to definitely have to work hard to find his way up the field now, as Matthew Trotman leads that class.
Battle for second in this class is probably the closest, tightest battle at the moment too. So we've got Hayden Burns in second and Jake Maloney in third. Maloney definitely has pace because he's got that thing on pole position, but there's actually a bit of damage to the side of Hayden Burns' car. So not sure as the fourth car there in line almost loops it around.
Just looking a little bit further up in your DP field, and there's a pretty good battle also shaping up at the moment. For third in that class is Samuel Doik has a look at Blake Haswell. Can't quite make anything happen into the chicane, but a very good start there. Sorry, that's actually Warren Pickering. Yep. Yeah, so he's made a fantastic leap from fifth on the grid, and he's now on the back of third, so he's a man on a mission right now in that class.
We're one lap in and it's been clean. That's really, really good to see. Great start for this series.
It's exactly what we wanted to see, and it's just interesting also pointing out the high numbers in the GTE class of Ferraris. Only two people going with the Ford, which is of course affected by a slight damage glitch at the moment. But Ferrari definitely the favoured car in that class, and it's leading all the places right now up to about 6th in class, as the leading Ford actually just locks up into turn one and allows Blake Neck to slip through the inside of turn one.
I think it's fairly obvious why the Ferrari is the most popular car. It's the most nicest looking car, and it's not a Ford. That's another topic for another day. A change of position a little bit back in the field, actually. Sorry, that's Jason Hyde making his way through. He actually missed the start, so he started in 31st position in the pits in the DP, and he's making his way through the GT3 field. He'll get a little bit of a break after he gets through, and then he'll have to do it all over again. But that battle for third at the front of the field is well and truly on. Blake Haswell, Warren Pickering.
Definitely two veterans of this car. Warren Pickering also competing in the Red Pepper Racing Series, so he's got plenty of experience in these cars. And haven't heard much of Blake Haswell recently, so he's definitely a name I haven't heard of. So he's doing very well to be up there in third right now and holding off such a talented guy. And Heath Brennan, who's fifth right now in that class, is also just beginning to sneak onto the back of these two guys, so could have quite the battle pack forming in the C7 group.
Yeah, really good battle starting to brew. Brendan did get a little bit of a bad run out of the chicane, but a few guys comment, oh, as Pickering thinks about making a big dive.
It's probably not the smartest move this early in the race, but you know, you got to risk it sometimes, and he's doing just that. But he's paying the consequences now as the FSR car behind is looking all over the back of his gearbox. But in this section, it's a bit hard to make a move, so he's just trying to set himself up for a pass later down the lap.
On board here with Brennan, you can see Pickering and Haswell up ahead. Clint Smith behind. He's starting to close up as well. So and the car behind him, Samuel Doki, as well, starting to close up. Oh, Pickering all sorts of crossed up and sideways. Oh, so around goes Brennan, right on cue.
That's really unfortunate. He was doing an absolutely cracking job. Flicks the car around and gets back on his way. Looks like he's got away with no damage, which is good, because these cars can be a little sensitive to damage, but he's got a little bit of ground to make up, so he'll be kicking himself about that one.
Battle back in the field. This is for 9th and 10th in class, 16th, 17th outright. We've got Michael Healy and Vale Riches, two guys that are very, very familiar with each other. Healy from Trans-Tasman Racing, Vale Riches, a veteran at TTL. Vale, I know, has done a bucket load of practice in this car since it's been launched. Done a lot of work to help Josh Rogers, who I'm just looking, already has a 1.5 second lead over Gianni Vico in P2. There's a new battle actually starting to form. Sorry, Bo, I was just about to cut in front of you there, but Clint Smith and Samuel Doki, they've closed up a lot in the latter part of that last lap.
Samuel has actually just got a little bit of damage to the front right quarter panel on his car, so it looks like he's hit a curb pretty decent around this track, which is easy to do, especially around the Degner corners and the final chicane. But it will be affecting him just a little bit, especially through this section and behind another car. So he's got to try extra hard to keep up to Clint, but right now it definitely looks like he has the pace. On that last lap, up to 7/10 quicker than Clint, so definitely got to be looking for a move in the near future.
Back in the field, that battle between Riches and Healy is well and truly on. So on board with Michael Healy.
Such a glorious sound these 488s make, isn't it? Just absolutely love an Italian car like that. Just brilliant. And in that livery, the Momo livery, it looks fantastic. So Michael would be pretty proud of that car to be driving it, and I'm sure he wants to keep it clean, but Vi Riches is quite a fighter when battling, so he's going to have to work very hard to find his way ahead of the TTL Ferrari.
Actually better go to that battle for third in the DP class, because it's closed down to under 0.3 of a second. Well, now it's right on 0.3 of a second as they come through Spoon. We're already 4 laps into this race. How amazing's that been? It's just flying by.
It's been awesome, and it just shows just how incredible this championship can be. Like, this is only round 1, and look at the racing we're already getting. We've got cars nose to tail in every class you can possibly think of. And so far, everyone's kept it clean. So,
spin back in the fan.
There's a bit of a bump between Haswell and Pickering, but head over to you.
Yeah, Zachary Hanlon's just had a spin on his lap. He's dropped back. He was just outside the top 4, just in the exit of Spoon. Unfortunately, he's dropped back in the field. Go back to that other battle again. Pickering and Haswell. So change of position there into turn 1.
Yep. I'll go back and see how that happened.
Yeah,
It looks like it was just the classic up the inside of the first turn. Plenty of room given, so plenty of respect between these guys, but very nice move by Pickering there.
just got a better run out of the exit of the chicane and fairly easy move. No real fighting from Haswell. He knows it's too early in the race to put up a big fight.
Also got the top three in GT3 also keeping each other pretty close together. They've not separated. We have Matthew Trotman leading the way from Hayden Burns for Mad Cow Racing, and Jacob Maloney in that very nice looking TTL Mercedes, following his teammate who's currently leading. But these three are bunching up slowly as well, as Maloney actually had the quickest lap out of those three on that last lap. So he's beginning to apply the blowtorch to Hayden Burns, but it's very hard to make a move in these cars because they're so traction limited with the traction control switch. But you know, with 4/10 a lap, he's going to have to do something pretty interesting to get past the Mad Cow Racing car.
Yeah, three-way battle is right well and truly on. You see Clint Smith now ahead of Samuel Doki. It's actually a four-car battle here for the last spot on the podium. Who's that gone? Straight ahead. Doki's gone straight ahead at the chicane. So that's ended that big battle that we've had, and a car into the lane. Just Clint Smith. He actually has a lot of damage to his car.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage. We are now 10 minutes into the race, so I'm not sure if he'll be able to fill the car up and go to the end there, but the entire front splitter of that car is gone, so that was a bit of a necessity rather than just playing a strategy card. So a bit of a shame for Clint, but hopefully we can still get some more fights through the rest of the field, as I'm looking at Blake Haswell as well, and he's not got the nicest looking car up front either, so a bit messy between those guys.
We didn't quite see exactly what happened between them, but looking at the witness marks on pretty much all of those cars in that group, and now the fact the gap between second and third is over 12 seconds, there's something gone amiss there between those guys.
Oh, I've just had a look back, and it was all Blake Haswell, unfortunately, just missing his brake marker into that final chicane, straight into the back of the green car in front, and just caused a bit of a chain reaction. So a few cars had to miss the final chicane, but that was a bit of a mistake, which sadly had big consequences for a lot of cars.
Battle for the front three in GTE. Josh Rogers, 1.5 second gap over Gianno Vico. Miko Mikila. I'll absolutely butcher everyone's name, but I'll at least admit I'll butcher everyone's name. These two guys have been unable to be separated since the start of this race.
Yeah, it's been good, and hopefully we can get a nice battle happening between these two cars. As we've got Gianni just missing the apex slightly, which gives Miko a little bit of incentive just to push on a bit more. But these two are running very well together right now, and you know, it'll be interesting to see if Miko's just playing his cards safe to himself right now and saving a bit of fuel and trying to maybe jump him in the pit stops, or maybe he's just content trying to stay onto the back of him right now.
While staying on the back, he can save a little bit of fuel, which then gives him the opportunity to jump at the stop. Rogers got great pace. Last lap by, around about the same time as the guys behind.
Rogers looks very comfortable out front though, not really using too much of the curb and just sort of saving his car, so he's doing very, very well at the moment.
Side by side back in the field, change of position as Jake Maloney goes through on Hayden Burns. So that's 4th position in GT3 as Maloney moves into P2.
Yeah, good move that one. Always a little bit risky as you head into 130R, so definitely not lacking on a, you know what, as James Hunt would say, but very, very good move there and pulled it off like an absolute legend.
Still on for second in GTE, but there's a battle pack starting to form again behind. We saw Var Richies and Michael Healy battle, but there's a closer battle than what we had with them before. We got Blake Neck and Darren Marsh, two veterans in the AusNZ community. Blake in the Ferrari and then Darren Marsh in the Ford.
It's actually definitely interesting.
Strange to see a Ford out there.
Yeah, a little bit, especially with some of the high curbs Suzuka has, but by the looks of it so far, Darren's actually done very well to stay away from the curbs and keep the sensitive Ford away from any kind of damage, so plenty of pace in that Ford when it works well, but just a little bit of unreliability so far. So he's doing quite well to stay with Blake Neck, who's just pulled the advantage a little bit, and Wendell Para just in front of them too.
It's on in the DP class again. 4th, 5th, 6th. Haswell, Doki, and Brennan now right there as well. Haswell definitely is not as quick as he should be because the front of that car is absolutely destroyed, and Heath Brennan very, very quick in comparison to these other two last time by.
Just a bit of a look there as they head into turn 1 by Samuel Doak. So he's definitely trying to get a little bit of intimidation happening on the back of Haswell, but like you said, both those cars are a little bit of a mess right now, and also the back of Doak's rear wings had a bit of a hit as well, so he's going to have a bit of a sketchy time through the front first S's.
So it's Lewis Gallen from Daniel Benefield out in front. They've got a 16-second lead back to 3rd, Warren Pickering, and this is the battle for 4th, 5th and 6th in the DP class on screen at the moment.
Doak seems to be a lot better under brakes than Haswell, so Doak perhaps has the advantage in these big exit zones, but Haswell using a lot of the exit there as they exit spring curve, and that's going to give him a big advantage down into 130R. But they have to be careful of Heath Brennan behind, as his car looks a little bit cleaner than the two in front, which is saying a lot, as these cars have definitely beaten each other up a bit. But,
Brennan! Wow, I thought he was gone.
Moment.
Oh, it's contact!
No, massive dive. Massive dive there.
This will help Brennan.
Yeah, that's definitely going to help him, as now they're also going to get feisty on the exit as well. This could be on for young and old into turn 1.
And done. Just that aero, lacking aero there for Blake Haswell definitely is. Oh, Haswell all crossed up.
Big moment, and that's definitely going to put his heart rate through the roof now. And look at Brennan, he is right up the gearbox of the car in front. Oh, just a little bit of push through those corners, but he's seeing this and is just rubbing his hands. This is absolutely madness right now, and he's definitely in the box seat. Car's now heading towards the very quick Degner corner. It's just starting to spread out a bit now. I think they've got their heart rates a bit too high, so they've spread themselves out, just trying to relax a little bit, as Brennan uses a lot of the exit curb there into the hairpin, which is quite a tough corner. And perhaps they're going to try and settle down now, work together, and start trying to make their way towards Warren Pickering, who's just edged these guys out by about 3 seconds right now.
Battle still on for 2nd and 3rd in GTE. Gianni Vico and Miko. We'll just go with Miko so I don't butcher it too much. These guys been separated by about half a second, and no more than half a second since they rolled away for that race start about 12 odd minutes ago. Sorry, 17 odd minutes ago. We're almost halfway through.
Flying by. It's just going.
Going to be a great series. You know it's always going to be good when the race just ticks by and you don't even realise. Next week off to Watkins Glen should be a fantastic race. We've got a 75-minute race there next week.
These cars are definitely having a rough entrance into iRacing. Just released only a week ago, and they've just been everywhere. Everyone's absolutely loving them. So these cars have been a massive success for iRacing. We can only hope there's more of these added in the future, with the Porsche and Aston both rumoured. But we'll see what iRacing does. Fingers crossed. But I'm sure iRacing will have a bit of difficulty getting the Aston into iRacing just because of that diffuser. That diffuser would take an absolute year to model. It's about the size of my house, so it would be awesome to see those two cars in, but right now we don't need them because there are just battles through this GTE field all the way through, as Darren Marsh just trying to get onto the back of Blake Neck a little bit now. A little bit quicker on that last lap, but still having to nurse that forward a little bit.
Yeah, lap times between Para, Neck and Marsh all pretty much the same. Last lap, actually, Para was a little bit quicker last lap by. Neck's dropped off a little bit. But battle for the lead in GT3 is now starting to really heat up. Front three separated by about 2 seconds. We've got Trotman, Maloney, Burns and Vals. That last spot on the podium's close.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Vals has actually closed the gap up to these guys in the past few laps because he was about a second and a half down previously. So these guys are all starting to bunch up now. So we should get a really good battle pack just before the pit stop phase. And that's one thing we have to start thinking about is, you know, we're now almost 20 minutes into this race. So pit stops are going to start taking place, but when are they going to happen and who's going to try and do what?
Big thing too for the guys in the DP class is they're not far away from getting into traffic. Actually, they're into traffic now. So Lewis Gallon in the lead in the Hybrid Racing Simulations DP. Just coming up onto the back of, I think that's Trent Thomas in the Mercedes.
Yep, both the FSR cars running line astern in that class right now. Doing very well with Scott Stevens leading Trent at the moment, but they're about to have their doors blown off by Lewis Paulo Gallon in this Corvette as he flashes the light, and the speed of that thing, it is off and around the outside.
That didn't make it easy, but he just raced around the outside, didn't even care. Not a stress in the world. Oh! That was close. This is where it gets a little bit dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. These GT3 cars don't have the braking capabilities of the Corvette, obviously. So, you know, once you're in that rhythm, obviously we're now many laps into this race, on the 11th lap now, about to head onto the 12th. You get into that rhythm, you know where your brake points are. Suddenly, you have a purple Mercedes stopping in front of you, and it can catch you out slightly. And that happened to Luis just there, and turned into a bit of a drift car there. But looks like he's recovered well, and he's about to get around the outside of Borja Zazo.
Fourth and fifth in this class though is still on. Haswell still looking at making a move, and Heath Brennan's still there. He's just conserving himself, just making sure he's sticking in that draft.
These guys using a lot of curb through that chicane there, as they have to struggle to get the power down on this Corvette. But they both did very, very well, and we'll see how the lap times go for that previous lap.
Oh, Brennan's in the lane.
Oh.
So Brennan, the first one to jump, he's in the pits. So he may have saved enough fuel to get it home from here. Worried about the traffic that's upcoming. Keep one eye on that.
It's probably a very smart call for him as well, as the two cars in front of him were being quite feisty with one another. So he's got himself out of that. He's gave himself a freebie, and hopefully he can get some clear air in between all these traffic cars, which doesn't look like he will. Looks like, oh, it might be close, but he might have played this to perfection. Oh, he might have one or two Ferraris coming through.
Ferraris, I think.
But nah, he should be good, and once he clears them, he might be able to jump with a lot of them, as he goes side by side with Blake Neck. Blake has to go around the outside there into turn one, but it's all good, and we'll see how his pace goes now compared to the two in front, as they've managed to spread themselves out a little bit, but we know it won't be the last these two see of each other.
Change of position, P9 in class for Richard Hampstead, making his way up through the field, just past Michael Healy, down the front straight. Gap second back to third in the DP class, 21 seconds. It's just growing. Pace from those front guys is astronomical.
Haswell now just getting back into the slipstream of Doak. Still not close enough, but still keeping tabs on one another. But they have ever so slightly managed to get the gap down to Warren Pickering, but just not quite as fast as they need. So Pickering looks to be a bit of a safe third right now, but we'll see how the pit stops play out. But you know, let's get our fingers crossed that this could eventually turn into a 3 or maybe even 4 car fight.
Second and third in GT3 class, all in the, or both in the lane, not all in the lane, both in the lane, in Hayden Burns and Jake Maloney. So they've pitted early, or actually at halfway point.
Is that not a change of position? Has Burns not jumped Maloney?
Yeah, it looks like has. Yeah, he has. 2 second quicker stop there for Burns. He's managed to jump ahead.
Bit of a strategy play there by the Mad Cow Racing, so bit of a Mad Cow strategy. But we'll see if he can hold on to track position now and how he's actually managed to gain that time. Has he underfueled the car too much, or has he played his cards perfectly?
He did drop in and made it quite easy for Maloney to make that pass earlier, so he may have tucked him behind and started saving fuel to try and get this play working, because put 1.5 seconds on him quite quickly too. Saying that Maloney's closed up the second part of this lap. We're at halfway in this race, or just over halfway. We've got 21 minutes left in this race. Looking like there'll be about 12 or so laps remaining in this one.
I'm sure we'd wish it would be more laps. It's been fantastic so far.
Can't wait for the rest of this series. It's been awesome.
Looks like Gianni Vecchio's just beginning to match Rogers a little bit better. Can't quite close any gap right now, so it looks like Rogers definitely has control of the GTE field. But there's actually the two cars behind Gianni and Mikko. They're just closing up ever so slightly again. So we might be able to get a fight between these two guys finally, as they've been, like you said before, nose to tail the entire time. But Mikko just hasn't quite been able to break a little bit closer to him to make any kind of move.
It's actually the biggest gap they've had all race, and it's only not quite 0.7 of a second. It's pretty amazing. These two guys have just been nose to tail pretty much since launch. Blake Neck and Darren Marsh is also still continuing. They're still separated by about 0.7 of a second. They've also got a DP coming up behind them, so that could actually help Darren Marsh depending on where the DP attempts to pass.
Yeah, that's one of the things. It's not just the faster cars that are affected by the traffic and trying to get past. It's also the slower cars. You know, if you try to let a faster car through in the wrong place, it can hurt you as well. So everyone's trying to help each other, but sometimes it just gets a little bit messy.
Yeah, sometimes they actually will just dive in there and you don't even know they're coming. And saw before with Stevens and Gallen. Stevens didn't think that Gallen was going to try and make a bit of a dive, and that almost cost Gallen, who's now up to a nearly 4-second lead, just blitzing away. You see Blake Haswell just dropped off that pack. He's got a bit more damage to the front of that car.
Just noticed as well that Richard Hampstead's actually split the middle between Vi Riches and Michael Healy, so Hampstead beginning to make some ground. We'll see if he can get closer to Vi Riches, but Michael Healy just beginning to drop off a little bit now in that Momo Ferrari.
Yeah, Hampstead's actually got pretty good pace. He's one of the quicker GTE cars. Not the quickest. His teammate out in front is the quickest. We just see that DP that we were talking about before, potentially getting involved with Marsh and Riches. He's just had a loop, which is Jason Hyde. Zachary Hamlin's going to come up onto the back of him, who has just got past Hayden Burns. Interesting, Hayden Burns has just come in for a second pit stop. He's dropped back through the field. That's a bit strange.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happened there. There is a little bit of damage to the side of that car, but nothing I would think that would warrant a second pit stop, so bit of a strange one for Hayden Burns. He was running very high up the field. He obviously did have that shorter pit stop than I think it was Jake Maloney, so perhaps he's realised his mistake and he's gone a bit too far.
They're fairly long for his second stop too, another 15-second stop, so he possibly got some sort of penalty. Black flag or something, because that's about the time length of a black flag penalty, not too sure. So Darren Marsh coming into the lane, so most of the cars now starting to enter the lane. Cars up the front trying to continue on a bit further. But the field in the DP class is definitely spread. And second and third in, oh here we go, second and third in GTE have closed up very, very quickly on two cars that are battling potentially for the win in GT3. They are all together.
This is going to be interesting. These cars have so many different strengths, and the Ferrari, ever so slightly, just getting close to the Mercedes there. He might be able to get the power down, but that's the thing. These GTE and GT3 cars aren't too different. There is differences, but it's not massive. So you can see there that Vecchio is actually not having the easiest of time getting past the Mercedes. Makes the move with a big lunge into Spoon, actually running a little bit wide. but it's not the easiest thing in the world for these cars to get past one another.
Maloney actually, after he'd realised the first one had gone, he let the second one through. But that split the TTL Mercedes in the GT3 class.
Split the Ferraris too, which is a bit of a shame. So those two have all split up, but hopefully they can find one another. But under brakes there into the chicane. The performance of those GTE cars under brakes is phenomenal.
Maloney almost into the back of Trotman, who these guys are now coming down the front straight. Vals has just made his stop. They're all going to come out about together. So we're going to see a 3-car battle for the win in GT3. Vals actually come out ahead. So Trotman was leading that class before the pit stops. That little incident there has potentially cost him the win.
So Vals, we said it before, he was running in fourth, about a second and a half behind these guys. Pit stops are done, 60 minutes to go. Guess who's leading the race? That's an amazing strategy play there by him, as long as he has all his cards still played correctly with fuel and all that. But right now, that's an amazing strategy to play.
He has had a very slow pit stop in comparison. His pit stop was 12.5 seconds. Compare that to Trotman, who was 14.8 seconds, and Maloney 15.3. It's Trotman over the AstroTurf and into the dirt, all sorts of sideways, and this is going to allow his teammate to get a bit of a run into the hairpin. Won't do it. I think if they weren't teammates there, Maloney would have had a dive.
Yep, agree with that 100% there. Definitely just being a little bit more cautious behind Trotman, but I think these two would definitely start firing up, especially as the race nears towards the end of the race, into the final third of this race now. And you know, as the more these two battle, though, they're going to just allow Vals to just eke that lead a bit more. And I believe since that opening sector where he came out of the pits, I think he's actually extended the lead even further.
Yeah, 1.2 seconds it is out to now. Just looking at Daniel Benefield, but we'll go back to the battle for second place in GTE. They are ultra close now.
Well, we said before that we wish they'd get a little bit too close. Oh, as now Vecchio dives into the pits. So Mikko wasn't behind him for too long. So Mikko now has clear air as Vecchio makes his pit stop. So we'll see how these two go. We're hoping these two would come together on track. They did, and they've run away from each other immediately. So hopefully we get some good racing between these two after the pit stops. But Gianni now comes in, stops at his box, and his teammate actually follows him in, Dustin Hickman.
Yeah, Josh Rogers also in the lane, so Rogers was leading GTE. Not many left to pit. So we'll see Hampstead in, so I think the only car left to pick is Mikko, and we were noticing he was coasting a little, saving a little bit of fuel. So this could be a smart strategy for him. Push hard on this lap, short fill, could potentially come out ahead.
Yeah, I'm just watching his apex speeds right now compared to the other cars in class. And safe to say he isn't going easy right now. He is using every inch of space as he turns into the hairpin. The fast right beforehand, using every inch of space, almost on the grass. And, you know, he's definitely trying to make the jump work, which is pretty powerful around Suzuka.
Only 13 minutes left in this race, so not long to go. Got about 7 or 8 laps left. It's absolutely been enthralling, this race so far. Still plenty left in it. But where will Mikko come out after these pit stops? This lap's been pretty impressive.
Just trying to see what was happening in GT3, in the Corvettes there, sorry. But Daniel Benefield now resumes second place in classes. Blake Haswell sits in the pits, taking his pit stop. We'll see if Heath Brennan, who was close to him on track, has made any kind of progress, as Blake Haswell still sits in the pits. Brennan now coming out of the final corner, so he's firing his way into the first corner very, very soon, as Haswell still sits in the pits.
Yeah, Haswell's actually gone a lap down, so I'm not exactly sure what's happened. Mikko finally in the lane. Now something's happened to Matthew Trotman as well, so that battle that we were starting to see between Trotman, Maloney and Vals is now turned to nothing. Vals now almost 4-second lead over Maloney. So not too sure what's happened there, but now here we go. Miko comes out of the pits ahead. Good pit stop. He's managed to jump. Only a 9.4 second stop versus a 10.8 second stop for Giovanni Vico. This is a great strategy play from Miko if he can make it.
Yeah, that's a big jump too. That's not just a small getting track position. That's a second and a half up the road. So huge gains by Miko there. So he's now looking to get clean air and just run away. But Vecchio now has him in his sights and will be hunting down for all he's got as we reach only 10 minutes left in this race.
Apologies guys, I just had a computer issue. My overlay software's just crashed, so I'll quickly fix that. But it's started to get really, really hot between Zachary Hanlon and Richard Hampstead.
Hampstead only pitted on that previous lap, so he's very fresh back out on the track and is hunting down Zachy Hanlon. But Hanlon just pulling away a little bit through that opening S section. But Hampstead did have very, very good pace before the pit stops. So we'll see how he goes, as he has one of the Corvettes just behind, which I actually believe is for track position. So Jason Hyde's actually still making his way through this field after that delayed start. But Hampstead now closing right up under brakes into the hairpin on Zachy Hanlon.
Hyde actually just looped it. Oh, be careful reversing. Oh, don't know about this. That was a bit dangerous.
Well, I apologise in advance for the commentator's curse there on Jason. Really just talking how well he was doing, and it's all gone wrong. And gets it looped around now, but that's a big shame because, you know, he could have had a fantastic race today. He's had pretty good pace. It's just that start initially cost him big time.
Carlo we haven't really seen too much of during this race, but currently P5 in GTE. We've got Wendell Parra. He's got Blake Neck starting to close up behind him. Actually, last lap he's pulled away a little bit. The lap before it, they did close up.
Looks like Wendell's just had a bit of a pace advantage on that lap, just previously gone, stretching out 0.4 of a second over Blake Neck. But Blake using a lot of the curb there, so he's definitely trying, and he wants this position pretty badly on Wendell. They've been pretty close together all on track, all race, so Blake hasn't been able to make anything happen in the pit stops, so we'll see if he can make anything happen on track.
Josh Rogers has a 3.2 second lead in class over Miko, who had that really clever pit strategy. And Gianni Vecchio, Dustin Hickman, and Parra and Neck on screen at the moment. So this is 10th, 11th outright, 5th and 6th in class.
Gianni's actually closing up a little bit on Miko again, so that fight for second in GTE might not be over just yet, as they're coming through 130R. All of them are being held up by traffic ever so slightly. As Miko gets held up ever so slightly by the TTL car just in front of him. So now we have Gianni Vecchio closing up all the way. That gap has gone from about a second and a half to what gap? There is nothing between these guys now. And this battle for second is going to be all on round 2. Ding, ding, ding.
But Matthew Trotman ahead. You know, something has definitely happened to him because he's now 10 seconds behind Maloney, who he was battling with at the end of those pit stops, and has massive damage to the front of his car. So that's unfortunate for Trotman because he was leading before the pit stops. Maloney about 4 seconds back in this class now, so that's almost settled the positions in saying that Trotman might actually lose out for the last spot on the podium. Go back to this battle, stay with this battle I should say, for second in GTE.
So just to give you an idea as well, on that last lap, Miko was close to a second slower than Gianni just because of that traffic. So that's one thing with traffic, is it can play in your favour and other times it will be your worst nightmare, and unfortunately for Miko it has hurt him a bit there, and now means for this final 7 minutes of this race he has a lot of work to do to hold back Gianni, who is looking quite pacey right now. So Luis Paulo Gallen's still leading the race. He's a long way up the field now, over 8.5 seconds ahead of Daniel Benefield. And those guys are upwards of 28 seconds ahead of Warren Pickering, who's doing very well, holding down third position in the Corvette, so he's doing a fantastic job. And we have Heath Brennan still in fourth, who has edged out Samuel Doak ever so slightly now, so that battle looks to be decided. So that's your top five, perhaps done for the race in the Corvettes, but it's definitely not done in GTE, as Gianni's still ever so slightly under threat from, sorry, other way around, Mikko is still under pressure from Gianni. So it's going to be interesting. There's only probably 3 or 4 laps left in this race, and I know Mikko's not going to make it easy on Gianni.
Yeah, timing's saying there's 5 to go, but we'll see. Probably will be wrong. We'll find out. But this battle is definitely the one to watch. There's nothing else really on track that's... Actually, the last spot on the podium in GT3 is also pretty close as well, so we'll keep one eye on that as well, but we'll stick with this battle between Mikko and Gianni. It's been fun to watch the whole way through. You just see a change of position with Blake Neck and Darren Marsh jumping ahead of Vale Riches. So I think Riches has actually had an issue in T2.
Oh, I'm just going back now, and it looks like there was actually quite a fair bit of chaos. It actually looks like we've had Blake Neck actually spinning. He was actually ahead of Vi Ritchie, spinning his way into turn 1. And I think that's just upset Vi ever so slightly. And he's lost the rear as well, so there's a bit of tandem sliding in different places there for those 2 cars. But positions were restored, but definitely a bit scrappy from those 2 as they went into turn 1 on, let's just say, the not so optimal line.
Replay coming up on screen with Blake Neck coming into 1. And Richie's, yeah, just had the mad cow, number 11, Hayden Burns, on the outside of him. He was going to go up the inside, and I think he might have got a wheel on the inside of the curb. But that's actually made that battle nice and close. But we'll stay with the battle for second and third in GTE.
Looks like Mikko's just begun to stretch the legs of that Ferrari just a bit more, actually turning into 130R just previously with his wheels in the curb. So that was a bit scary from him, but he's now, he's got the TTL car right in front of him in the middle of the S's, and he's not going to get it out of the way either. So
yeah, that's Maloney
like
second in GT3.
Looks like round 3 is going to be on once again, and actually Gianni has quite the run as they head into Degner's. Not quite a passing opportunity, but close that gap up quite a lot. Dustin Hickman, 4th in class currently, who is a teammate to Gianni. Is doing quite well at the moment, just holding pace. He's well ahead of Wendell Paris, so he looks pretty secure for 4th. But gotta say, Mikko is definitely not secure, as that bright yellow Ferrari is just closing under every braking zone and filling his mirrors with bright yellow headlights. So I wonder if Mikko has turned off his middle display replay camera yet, because that would be a huge distraction for him as Gianni continues to pile on the pressure.
Here we go, he's closing up here. Got a great run.
Looks like Gianni's just tightened the seatbelts up a little bit and said, hey, I'm going for broke here. He's really, really pushing through.
Yeah, go or go home.
That's it. And oh, look at that. We have Mikko just weaving, just like telling the leading Mercedes, just, hey, I'm coming through and you're not going to stop me. I need to get through. So Mikko just getting a bit impatient, and you can see that now as he misses the apex into turn 1. This is definitely heating up now as Gianni fills the mirrors once again. Mikko, he can't deny it now. He's feeling the pressure now.
This has been a great battle. These 2 have been nose to tail for this entire 45-minute race. We're going to have 2 laps to go by the looks of it, because Lewis Gallen about to, no, not far off crossing the start-finish line. Pretty close between being 1 or 2 to go.
I believe it's going to be 2 to go, so
Yeah, it looks like
we
it.
should actually get
Yep.
even more racing between these two, which is definitely
Yeah,
not
we
a
get-
complaint at all.
2.5 laps for these guys. I'm looking forward to this. We're going to stay with it as much as we can throughout the rest of this race. The clock's about to strike 0. I've got a minute 33 left on the clock, so they'll have 2 and a bit laps left.
What's amazing about these two is even though they're pushing so hard to stop one another from getting past, they're actually keeping up with the pace of Josh Rogers, who I think is definitely just starting to relax now. He's got a comfortable lead, so he's just happy, and he's probably got the popcorn out and just watching the relatives, seeing how this battle unfolds for second as Gianni into the slipstream once more into 130R. Let's see how brave he is this time. Seatbelts tightened, wheels in the grass yet again for Mikko. Pretty even that time, so Gianni still plenty of time. Not really, still time on the clock left for him to make an attack. As looks like Mikko just got a slightly better exit out of that chicane, so Mikko can breathe easy for one more corner. But Gianni continuing to pile on the pressure.
Last lap around a little bit slower for Gianni, about 0.3 of a second, which is why that gap's a little bit wider now, but absolutely nothing in it for these guys. It's been a fantastic battle this entire race. What a great start we've had for this new series.
Yeah, this is only round 1. How the heck are we supposed to have anything like left of breath after round 12? This is going to be a fantastic championship, and this is only the start of it. So, I think next round we could have much higher participation, just because if this doesn't want you to get out on track right now, I'm not sure what will, because this is fantastic.
The last spot for the podium in DP is on. Heath Brennan has the best pace out of the entire DP field and is closing up very quickly on Warren Pickering. They've got 1 lap to go, and Brennan is right there, under half a second behind. He might actually get this move done down the front straight.
He might. He's very close. A little bit of damage to that car, but I think it's only making him quicker. He is a man on a mission right now.
Here he goes. Not quite.
Is that a little bit of a look? Just trying to unsettle Warren Pickering, and it looks like it's worked, as Pickering just locking the inside front ever so slightly. But Heath Brennan, what a mission he has had, because these two were separated by about probably 7 seconds at one point. So he has just knuckled down and done a fantastic job, and he might be able to reap the rewards if he can find a way past this black and red car.
Luis Pello Gallen now makes his way through Spoon, so we'll make sure we keep our eye on him when he comes across the line. But the last spot on the podium in DP is definitely on. Mikko looks like he's pulled a little bit of a gap over Gianni as well, but Luis Paulo Gallen, what a fantastic drive from him. Comes through the final corner. He'll pick up the win in DP in round 1 here at Suzuka. A fantastic drive from him. Daniel Benefield second.
Did not put a foot wrong, so massive congratulations to Luis. Daniel comes across second, but third place, we still can't say the name of who that's going to be, because Heath Brennan's still heavily in the slip.
Here he comes.
What, he's got to run. He's got to run to 130 on. Thinks about it.
Oh.
Just backs out. Will he have a look into the chicane? He's a bit far back now, but can he get the exit? It's all going to be on Warren Pickering here to get a good exit. If he can, job done. If he can't, this is going to be incredible.
Yeah, I think you might be able to hold on here, because the finish line's fairly close to the exit of that corner. So well done to Pickering for holding on. Let's go to GTE. Josh Rogers down the back straight. He's got about a 6-second gap. This is Mikko and Gianni, who have had nothing between them for this entire race. It's been absolutely fantastic to watch.
Just while we're off watching the other two battles, Jake Maloney's actually done quite an effort to get quite close to Jorge Blasco Valves, but as we head on to the final lap now, only a few corners left, it won't be enough, so looks like Jorge will be able to get the result that he would want, but a massive effort by Jake Maloney to close that gap, and Matthew Trotman in third right now. Should be able to hold off Borja Zazo.
It's been an absolutely fantastic race the entire way through the field, and I cannot wait for next week. We haven't even really finished this race yet, so Trotman will be able to hold off. As long as he doesn't cough over the line, should be fine. It's been absolutely awesome, this race. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Longer race next week, which will be really, really interesting in regards to how the strategy plays out.
Yeah, it will be, because we saw how much strategy made a massive change of race pace in this one. So with an even longer race next week, it's going to be incredible to see what these guys come out with. But for now, this round was absolutely fantastic.
So results on screen for the DP class. Luis Pello Gallon picking up the win by 8 seconds over Daniel Benefield, then Warren Pickering, Heath Brennan, Samuel Doak, Jason Hyde, Blake Haswell and Clint Smith. Let's move over to GTE, Josh Rogers, then Miko Melkila, Gianni Vico, Dustin Hickman, Wendell Parra, Darren Marsh, Blake Neck, Zach Hanlon, Michael Healy and Dan Karakanousis. Then over the page, Richard Hampstead, Vale Riches, Corey Preston, and GT3 Jorge Vales picks up the win over Jake Maloney, Matthew Trotman, Borja Zazos, Trent Thomas. Jeez, I'm doing really well tonight. Scott Stevens, Michael Kirkham, Hayden Burns, Andrew Wheeler, and Nikolai. I'm not going to even attempt. It's been too long a night.
Well, one person who has enjoyed tonight is Josh Rogers. As I hope Michelin didn't want the rear tyres back, because they're not getting anything back. He's been shredding them. Absolutely gone, but he deserves to do that. Fantastic drive by him. Luis Polo Gallon also with a fantastic effort, and Jorge Pelasco Vals with a brilliant pit strategy to win GT3.
It's been an absolutely fantastic race. Thanks for jumping in the comms box tonight, mate. Yeah, welcome back anytime you like.
Thanks, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure to be alongside you.
Thank you very much for tuning in. Our next broadcast will be on Sunday night for Carrera Cup Australia. Then we'll have Monday night the V8 Supercar official online series, and then Tuesday night we'll bring more sports cars, more more IMSA style racing. I nearly said Grand Am. That would have brought back memories. With Tuesday night midweek sports cars, 3 hours of racing. We'll be back here at Suzuka for that. But make sure you tune in to our next broadcast Sunday night. You are watching V8 Online. This is Thursday Night IMSA. On behalf of Bo Albert, this is Jay Kennedy signing off. We'll see you on Sunday.